Please welcome Gurudev. Now a man who needs very little introduction, but I think it's worth that we acknowledge just some of your contribution to all of us this evening. Gurudev, you've inspired millions around the world to reawaken what is our fundamental human values, and how all of us can work towards a positive and stress-free life. Your work with the Art of Living Foundation, and acknowledge that there are Art of Living Foundation members and representatives in the room this evening, and the International Association of Human Values, has impacted the lives of over 500 million people. And I think that's just directly. I think there are many more millions who have witnessed your wisdom through your other talks. An ultimate force for peace building, having worked with the United Nations and being involved in peace agreements, whether it's in Colombia or gang violence in Los Angeles, or even the generations-old sectarian conflict in Adoya in northern India. You've also had time in that to write over 40 books, which is an impressive mind. We are so deeply humbled and honoured to welcome you here this evening. Our topic is absolute intelligence versus artificial intelligence. And I wanted to start, given that we're talking about AI, to try something which may or may not work. I wanted to ask ChatGPT a question.
Got it. Sounds like you might be working through some setup. If you need help or anything,
I've got it. My name's Lucinda Hartley, and I'm here with Gurudev Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, global spiritual leader. I'm interviewing him in front of a crowd of 200 distinguished business leaders in Melbourne. What should be my opening question? Fortunately, I asked ChatGPT that question earlier today, in case of this moment.
So it doesn't repeat the answer.
It doesn't repeat the question. I don't know if many of you have used the audio chat, but I find it about 60% effective. So we still have a long way to go. But it did say, Gurudev, you've spoken often about the vast potential of human intelligence, intuition, and consciousness. In an age where artificial intelligence is rapidly advancing, how do you see the relationship between these two forms of intelligence evolving, and what can human intelligence offer that AI cannot?
Well, AI is challenging human intelligence. Let me put it this way. AI can only reproduce what is already stored. It can't create something new. So, but human intelligence has the capacity to create something new, which is not already there.
Yeah.
So, in some way, the artificial intelligence is beckoning everyone to use their intelligence more and more.
Yeah.
You see, and not just chew on what's already been there. It's intelligence to see there is intelligence in the whole creation.
Yeah.
Somewhere we forget to do that. We forget to recognize there is intelligence in the whole nature, in the whole creation as such. Today, fortunately, just last week, there was a research paper that came out in the Scientific American that they said, American scientists have found out that there is consciousness in everything. Every object has its own consciousness. Have you heard about that? How many of you heard about that? Yeah, so every object has its own consciousness. That means we suddenly see the whole universe alive in a very different dimension.
So if everything has a consciousness, is there such a thing as absolute intelligence?
Yeah. I would say, see, as a child, we had seen the whole universe as full of life, correct? That everything is alive. The tree is talking to a child, the animals are conversing, we see the emotional intelligence in almost everything. The moon is smiling and trees are speaking. That type of, if you see cartoons, that's the world of a child. They see there is liveliness in the whole creation. But as we grow older, somewhere we tend to see everything mechanized, almost machinery, machine type of, you know, attitude we start developing. Even people, we see them as robots.
Yeah.
But getting back to the latest research, we see that, hey, come on, wait a minute, that the table you are holding on to or the chair you are sitting on, they all have consciousness of their own. You see? And so that one consciousness which envelops the whole planet, whole universe, just so orderly, is really intelligent. I would call that as an absolute intelligence.
Yeah, absolute intelligence is already here and all around us. We just heard the beautiful voice of Badari Vasa and that invocation to the goddess of knowledge, learning and intelligence, Saraswati. The translation of one of the phrases that she was singing about is to bestow on me the right understanding always. In a world where we have incredibly vast amounts of knowledge at our fingertips, what does it mean to have like the right understanding?
I would say an intellect which is free from prejudice, and a mind which has clarity in perception, and an expression which is flawless. Only to understand.
And so when we think about something like artificial intelligence, it's often the externalization of our knowledge. I guess it's looking at the database of humanity that we perhaps have quantified in some ways, in some areas, and externalized it. But you talk a lot about the embodiment of knowledge being wisdom and the internal knowledge. How should we think about the difference between internal and external wisdom?
As we, just before we heard that, we need ethical artificial intelligence. There should be ethics there.
Yeah.
Why do you think we need ethics? Why? There it comes. You don't want anything that you don't like happening to you, that you should do it for someone else. In a business term, I would say, you don't want your vendors to cheat you, and so you shouldn't cheat your customers.
Yeah.
So that's the basics of ethics. The backbone of ethics is trust. For example, now social media. You get all sorts of news, fake news, real news, and then you have to go and do the fact checking. For some time, when it was new, the news media, social media was new, people would just believe whatever is coming there in social media. Now we have woken up and say, hey, I want to do fact checking. Is it right or not? So this is what I would say as the human intelligence intervening and really finding out whether to believe something that you hear or you see as true or not. And then see whether it's for the good for everybody. See, the purpose of technology is to bring us comfort, right? If it's not fulfilling that goal, if the technology is a cause, becomes the cause or reason for distress, then we need to worry about it. You see, kids holding on to the cell phone 24/7.
No children do that, do they?
So 24/7, how it badly impacts their nervous system. And these are some things that one need to check up. That's where I would say there need to be a human intervention, human touch. So we need to balance our external with the internal. Otherwise, we suffer from insomnia and anxiety, depression, suicidal tendency, a host of all these illnesses which we have never heard before. See? Can you imagine every 40 seconds one person is committing suicide in this modern age? And this is something which we cannot accept as human society. One of our own folks are taking their life away, and 1 in every 4 person in the world is getting depressed. It's something, it's ringing an alarm for us to wake up. Hey, we need to do something. Correct?
Absolutely. And look, in places like Australia and indeed worldwide, but the research from Australia will show that loneliness is now such an epidemic that it's as likely to kill you as smoking or heart disease. It's actually one of the leading causes of death, according to the research by the Grattan Institute. And I'm interested to know how you think about issues like loneliness in a world where we are becoming more online. There are many different solutions now in the market where you can look at AI companions or you can look at other artificial companions. But from what I know of your work, this is perhaps unlikely to meet our need for loneliness.
Loneliness is one such thing. It's, of course, post-COVID, the divorce cases have tripled in the world.
Yeah.
And so now to combat loneliness, let's see like this. A person is feeling lonely and he tried to find someone, and the other person is also feeling lonely. 2 lonely people get together, they can't share much. They only share loneliness. In spite of being together, they feel completely lonely. You see, that's not the answer. So what we need to do, first find out from within us, ourselves, I would say just meditate a few minutes, go deep within you. And then you see the root cause of loneliness is stress and disconnectedness with yourself. So when you are disconnected with yourself, you can only, spread more negativity around you. So getting connected to oneself, I always say that human system is almost like the structure of an atom. We are made up of 35 trillion cells in the body and innumerable atoms. And the atom is the positive proton and neutron is in the center. The negative charged particle is only in the circumference. So our negativity is only in the circumference. So when we settle down, just be centered, we find that we become a source of joy. So then when 2 people come together with the spirit of giving, contributing to each other's life, then there is joy in life. Then you can get over the loneliness rather than trying to.
So this requires us to slow down.
And cool down.
Around us, we're living in a world that's accelerating, and I think one of the research papers from Singularity University by Peter Diamandis, who's the founder of the X Institute, he said that it's predicted that we would experience 20,000 years of technological change in the next 100 years. That exceeds what we have coped with from an evolutionary perspective, from what our nervous systems have developed to cope with. What advice do you have on managing our relationship with knowledge and information in a world which is moving so quickly?
It's a big boon to the current generation. In our generation, I think there are many from my generation here, we had to go to library and go through all those books and catalogs, and then it would take almost a whole day for us to get to the book, the topic, what we want from the library, and then read that book. But today, in their fingertips, all knowledge is available to someone. And so the current generation is so lucky. I would say they're so fortunate because all knowledge in the world is available right there. It's only how you put to use the knowledge that you have. That's where the thing is. Are you putting to use for greater good of humanity? Or are you making use of it to manipulate and, for selfish goals?
So do you think that AI has the potential to enhance our collective wisdom?
Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes, sure.
If used ethically. There's a range of different views on AI, and particularly in this room, we have world leaders in this space. On all spectrums of it's going to do everything and we won't need to work anymore, we'll just spend our life on vacation. Professor Hinton, who won the Nobel Prize for advancing AI, his caution was, be careful. 2 words. And interestingly, Alan Paris, a 20th century American computer scientist, before the age of AI, said that a year spent in artificial intelligence is enough to make one believe in God.
That's good.
Yeah. What advice would you have for institutions like Deakin, universities who are working at the forefront of AI, who are looking at educating the next generation about how we navigate the benefits and challenges of technology that's such a big change to the way that we live?
First of all, you don't need to be scared that artificial intelligence is going to take away the jobs of millions of people and will be jobless and blah, blah, blah. These sort of, I want to tell you when we were in high school, that's when the computer came, the calculator came. When the calculators came into play, the mathematics professors were very upset. They said, our students will be so dull, they wouldn't do a mathematic table properly, they cannot, recite by heart. And so they thought this is going to really create huge havoc, that we are going to regress in our intelligence because we will lose the ability to calculate all through our head, use our mind as a computer. But that didn't happen, you see. Science is only advancing and it will continue to advance. Here, the thing is, if you are free from stress, you will use it for good purpose. And if you are stressed out, then you see how people spread negativity through artificial intelligence, misuse it. And it can be even more harmful. You can do more harm through, false messages or wrong use of technology. That's why I would say the state of mind is very, very important of a person. So in short, I would say we all want a violence-free society, right? We don't want people to use artificial intelligence to create more violence in the society. In US alone, per day there are 2.9 mass shootings. This is not something that anyone would wish to happen anywhere else in the world also, even in US. So this type of violence in society has to be quelled. In short, I would say violence-free society, disease-free body, confusion-free mind. You ask any youth anywhere, what do you want to do? I'm so confused. This is a common phrase. People say, I'm so confused. You're confused about your career, you're confused about your job, you're confused about what subject you want to take, you're confused about your partner, your boyfriend or girlfriend, you're confused about your identity. This confusion is reigning so much in society, And so I don't think it's very intelligent thing to have confusion in such big scale. No doubt, confusion is part of life, but if it rules your life, then it ruins actually. Then confusion-free mind, inhibition-free intellect. We have all different type of inhibition in the mind. Inhibition about gender, even just imagine in this century, 21st century, we still have gender bias in many parts of the world. So that's something, inhibition-free intellect, very important. We have bias against gender, about religion, about race, about language, even age group. People of certain age group will only listen to people of that age group only. You know, if you talk to kids, teenager, and if someone elder to them speaks to them, they just don't believe it so much. They say, they don't know. Gen Z wants to have their own club. So if we see this sort of gaps between the generation, I think it's not going to contribute to a harmonious society. So, violence-free society, disease-free body, confusion-free mind, inhibition-free intellect, trauma-free memory, sorrow-free soul. This is the birthright of every individual. And I think we all have to work for that. We all have to work for that. You know.
And you have the opportunity to work with communities around the world with this message and opportunity. If we look around, when a lot of young people, I would observe, feel confused, they may turn online for answers, and many of us would do that as well. Is there a way that technology can help us with that confusion, or do you feel there are other solutions that we really need to be leaning into?
Of course, you can use technology to find some help there, but human interaction is very essential. We need to sit with people, like to connect with people in real time. That's more important. See, because we're all vibrations. The technology doesn't give that vibration. You see, but with human interaction, we exchange that biorhythm or the vibrations, which are very important. Very, very important.
Universities have a strong role to play in that campus interaction and bringing people together. Deakin is celebrating 30 years in India this week, and that international partnership and collaboration and learning. Universities are such an epicenter of knowledge. Do you have advice on what role universities like Deakin can play in helping build resilience for future generations?
Universities are a place where you develop great personalities, great human beings. It should not be just a place where you create machine full of informations. We usually keep stuffing information in young minds, you know, and they come out of the university and that's all they have, information. They are not a vibrant personality. It's all-round personality, which you know, an emotional and you know, a spiritual, emotional, or social being. You know, many aspects of an individual is overlooked in the university, generally, I would say. Because the lack of that great family support that students used to enjoy before. Today, youth are on their own, so they need that, I would say, more human interaction and social behavior. What do you think?
I think it's very important, as someone who's studied a lot of social research. I also think probably the academics in the room would say it's quite difficult to get people off their devices and to meet in person. And there are different kinds of experience and the energy that we would have from meeting in person, like we have in a room this evening, that is very different from watching YouTube or the other experiences. And it's something that we want to foster, but it is definitely a tension and a challenge as we move forward into a new way of living. We also have a lot of researchers in the room at the forefront of building AI at the depth of it, and without looking at that side of things, I'm interested to know from like a policy perspective or an industry context, should researchers should they be focusing on areas of well-being, or what advice would you have for?
See, today the youth are swinging between two extremes. Either they are depressed on one side, or on the other side, they have an aggressive behavior. Between aggression and depression, there is a swing that's happening today. Some are very aggressive at the drop of the hat. They just lose their temper, and then, that's it. They blow up for nothing. On the other side, people become so lonely and get so depressed. So we need to find that middle path, bring them to that balance. I see resilience is something that youth can have, that they should know how to face the challenges, how they can work in tough situations, and how they are able to communicate and converse with people of various different mindsets. Usually people try to hang up with people who fit their mindset, you see. And the world is so vast, and there is ample number of type of people on this planet. So if you need to be a good leader in the society or be successful, whether in business or in profession, you need to know how you have to manage your own emotion, how you can connect with people of various mindsets. And these things, they can't learn through YouTubes, or they think that this has to come to them in their life as a practical something. I think it has to get ingrained in them. And universities can be a very apt place for people to grow up in their, to develop their diverse personalities. What do you think? I would say for anyone to do business, they need two things. One, innovative spirit, another is intuitive spirit. They need strong intuition. And intuition can come when their mind is calm, settled, and they're centered, And usually we think our mind is inside the body, but it's not so. Our body is inside the mind. Yeah. I often say the body is like the wick of a candle, and the mind is like the glow all around it. So when we feel low energy, that's when the mind starts to shrink, and it shrinks further. That's when the suicidal tendency happens. So if you increase what we call prana or chi, energy in you, then you feel stronger. You can get over the depression, all different negative tendencies, and become so stronger and expansive. And when you feel that expansion within you, then you get access to intuitive abilities. And innovation also can happen through that.
Gurudev Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, thank you so much for joining us this evening, for your wisdom, for your knowledge, challenging thoughts. Thank you very much for attending.